Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Journey Sessions YouTube channel. It's been a minute since I've been on here. I've just been listening to my own energy and allowing myself to share when I feel compelled to share. And I feel compelled to share with you today. This is actually based off of an email that I sent to my list last week after having talked with a bunch of people and noticed that there was a common theme going on. So the name of this podcast episode, of this YouTube video episode today, is When Things Fall Apart. Things have fallen apart for me too. Okay, so it's not just what I've noticed in people around me. The reason I notice these things, and then the reason I notice these things at a deeper level, is because I too have experienced them, and I have this uncanny ability to be with myself in my experience and understand what is happening and mine for the gold and support myself and find the resources around me that can support me too in my evolution through, for example, the falling apart. And so it's been really amazing and beautiful to then support people that have shown up and shared with me their own experience of having things fall apart. And this can look like a breakup. This can look like a job loss. This can look like a death of a loved one. This can look like just receiving a piece of information that changes your entire understanding of how something is. Your entire reality shifts. And that can be the domino effect that just creates this experience of things just falling apart, not being what you thought they were, not having something happen, a future plan, what you thought was happening in your life is suddenly not what's happening. And so I'm going to share with you, I'm going to give you some very clear, concrete action steps to take when things fall apart. And you're going to get a little squirmy around them because they're not actually things that you go out and do. We're not escaping the experience. We're not going out and doing things to get out of this experience. The things I'm going to invite you to do are what are going to bring you into your experience fully. Because that's where the shifts happen. That's where the healing occurs. That's where you get to recreate and reclaim and emerge as the next version of yourself and into the next reality that's ready to happen through you. But first, I want to say this. Things are falling apart. Things are falling apart, and we need these tools because sweeping things under the rug, dissociating from the experience of things falling apart and all the difficult, challenging tension, the emotions, the blah, and going and distracting ourselves by doing something else, it's not working. It does not work anymore. Have you noticed? It doesn't fucking work anymore. Things are falling apart. This is a really good thing, unless we don't know what to do. And then you find yourself existing in a space of being fallen apart. So I am here to help give you the tools and the practices, remind you of the tools and the practices that you actually get to lean on and use because they're the sharpest, they're the most powerful, they're divine, they're accessible, they're within you. It's all right here within you. So I'm going to share these with you. So I also want to say this. You maybe haven't experienced a falling apart. And you might be feeling a little blah. You might be feeling a little like your baseline state is not that exciting. You aren't very happy. Maybe you're just devoid of life force energy. Maybe you don't have passion for anything. Maybe the momentum is gone. And again, I think previously, you could have just chugged along and had this be just how it is and kind of like pretended like that everything was okay. Stuck your head in the sand and just chugged along. And whereas a percentage of us who were in that space couldn't deal with it before and like broke through and had to literally upend their lives and create things falling apart so that they could find themselves and they could find aliveness and they could find their path and they could find their purpose. Now, more of us are needing to do that. Things are changing. This is part of our collective spiritual awakening that's happening here. So with that being said, I'm going to move into, I think I have 6 things here. 6 things here. And but before I dive into them, let's make this experiential. So I want you to think about something in your life right now that is not satisfying. An area of your life. Is it your health? Is it your spiritual connection? Is it your relationships? Is it your creativity? Is it fun and adventure? Is it your environment? Is it your career? I don't know if I already said that. What part of your life are you feeling like, yeah, that kind of sucks? Yeah, things aren't going very well in that department. So that's one way to tap into the energy here, is just to think about like, what is dissatisfying to you? And if you get to a specific experience or an event or something that like maybe you're trying to sweep under the rug or you're trying to forget about, this is your invitation to just let it be here. Just bring it out. Just pull up a chair, let it sit here next to you. Do you feel that? Okay, this is a good one. So feel what it's like to allow what isn't comfortable, what doesn't feel aligned and true, what rubs you the wrong way, that is a part of your life, be here. Just give it a little space right here next to you. And take a moment to notice how you feel in your body when you give this space here. When you're no longer putting effort and energy into tucking it away, avoiding it, resisting it. Just let it be here. Just let it be here. And if you need a little bit more space from it, you can dial it down. I'm pointing over here to my left because I was like, oh, that's where it's being pulled up for me, is right here at my left. But wherever it is for you, if you need a little bit more space, you just dial it down a little bit. Give it a little bit more space until you feel like, okay, I can be in the same room as you. I can be in the same space as you. And make sure the essence of this thing is the bullseye that when you strike it, it would affect everything. Or if you completely removed it from your life. And I'm not talking about just the experience. I'm talking about everything that's attached to it. If it's attached to a relationship, if it's attached to a job, if it's attached to something, it's all woven together, right? All of our experiences, all of our parts, all of the aspects of our lives are all interwoven. So you might think you're trying to just tuck something under the rug or avoid something, but it's always more than that. And that's why it doesn't work anymore, because it's all connected and we are evolving to a place of really understanding this, right? So just have this here, but understand it's its bigger implications. Understand what it's also really connected to. And just take a moment to answer that question for yourself. What is this connected to for me? If this was removed, what would go with it? Right? So like, if your husband drinks too much and that's affecting your relationship, and you keep sweeping his habit under the rug and you keep white knuckling through your relationship that's actually not very satisfying to you and just pretending that everything's okay, and you're letting the drinking too much and your husband and his behavior and your dynamic with this be here, that's the first step. But then if you were to remove the drinking too much, the dynamic, the behavior, what else would go with it? Would the marriage be over? Would the pretending be gone? Would you finally have to face the truth? What would no longer exist? Your relationship as you know it might no longer exist. It might completely go away, right? Just think of everything that's connected to this, your fears, your own, the way you're enabling it, your own behaviors, like, right? Just, I'm asking you to get really fucking real with yourself right here. This is just a doorway. I'm not asking you to actually remove the thing. I'm not asking you, to blow up your life. We are just bringing awareness in, and we're bringing the energy in to the greatest capacity that we can, so that when I take you through these practices, you can actually experience this for yourself. Okay. So that's why I use that example to really illustrate like how much is actually here. Okay. So come back to your body, breathe into your body. You are right here. You beautiful, beautiful soul. You're right here. And all your parts, all your layers, all your experiences in this moment. And then you have this here too. This edge, this fucking edge is right here too. The first practice, the first thing I want you to know about this is to stop judging and shaming yourself for being right here. Stop judging and shaming yourself for being in a situation that feels hard. Stop judging and shaming yourself for feeling what you feel. Grief, pain, anger, sadness, resentment, guilt. Just be right here. Notice where you actually are. And here's the thing about shaming and judging yourself for being where you're at, for being upset that a relationship ended, for being devastated that you lost your job, for being angry that you trusted somebody and they turned on you, right? So if you actually had something happen that upended your reality, like just notice where you're shaming yourself and judging yourself for how you feel about this experience. And the next thing I want to say is that the judging and the shaming, you should be over it. You shouldn't be letting this bother you so much. What's wrong with you? That line of self-talk isn't even your voice. That isn't you. It's an internalized voice from your family, from society, from the patriarchy, telling us that how we feel is either too much, it's not valid, it's not important. And this is just another way that we unconsciously push something under the rug. We move away prematurely from an experience, and then we bring the trauma along with us. We don't want to do that. You can't create a new carrying baggage from the past. And so just be here with it and just notice the shaming and the judgment and just drop it, because it's not even you. Just drop it and allow yourself to be here. Accept how you feel. As soon as you accept how you feel, you can actually feel it and it will move through, and then you can move on. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Something else. So that's practice number one. Stop shaming and judging yourself. Just stop it. Practice number two. Stop thinking about them. Stop thinking about the other. Stop thinking about your husband and how he needs to stop drinking and he's destroying your relationship. Stop thinking about your boss and what a fucking asshole they are. And if they just fucking listen to you, that the company would be making more money. Stop thinking about your friend who's like not available, not showing up for you and is supposed to be supporting you. What's wrong with her that she's can't even check in with you and ask you how you're doing, right? Come back and be with yourself in the experience you're having. Because when things suddenly end, when there's breaks, when there's breaches, when things fall apart, it's a trauma response to try to figure out what happened on their end or that end, so that we don't have to actually be with the experience we're having on our end. But right here in your experience on this end is where you get to take full ownership of yourself and what you're moving through. So just notice here, is your attention more on that than it is on this? That's practice number two. Stop thinking about the other and come back to yourself. Come back to yourself. Be in your experience. Feel what you're feeling. And this is going to rub some of you wrong, and that's okay. And ask yourself, how did I contribute to this? How have I been co-creating this? Where did I co-sign on this experience? Right? So when things fall apart and we don't take that level of responsibility, we're just setting ourselves up to experience it again. If we psychoanalyze, if we get super into what we think must be happening over there, then the only thing we're creating is a hypervigilance to try to keep ourselves from experiencing it again. But that's not how the subconscious mind works. The subconscious mind is like, oh, we're reinforcing our awareness of a thing that we actually don't want, which is actually going to attract it to us, rather than look at ourselves and say, wow, I find myself in this really difficult situation, and I'm going to take full responsibility for how I ended up here, and be present with myself as that awareness deepens and drops in until I know what I need to do to have a different experience, what I need to do to have a different experience. Because remember, y'all, we can't fucking control what anyone else says or does. We can only control what we say or do. So that's practice number two. Stop thinking about this and come back to here. Practice number three is to stop taking more responsibility than you need to. So, right, the second practice I said, take responsibility, but don't take more responsibility than you need to. Just take responsibility for yourself. So if you're blaming yourself or beating yourself up for what happened, If you blame yourself for your husband over drinking, if you blame yourself because you're too much and that's why your best friend hasn't been checking in on you, if you blame yourself that you're not a good enough mom and that's why your teenager walks in the front door and just goes up to their room every night, right, and doesn't talk. If you blame yourself up and beat yourself up for what is happening or what happened and take more responsibility than you need to, you're never going to give the other the opportunity to shift. You're also holding on. That's a way that we hold on. It's a trauma response, right? So when we were children, being analytical and hypervigilant about how the other, where they were coming from so that we could make sense of it, so that our lives made sense. Taking on more of the responsibility and blaming ourselves so that we felt safe, so that we could feel like, okay, I'm going to take this on. That's the only way that I can feel like I'm acceptable and that I'm worthy of love here. But we're not children anymore. But we might still have the same responses in place. And right here is where you get to notice if that's true for you and stop. Just be in your own experience. Take responsibility for how you show up. Take responsibility for how you choose to be. Take responsibility for what the stories are that you're telling. Take responsibility for how you feel. And let the other be responsible for theirs. You will notice in this place that there are parts of you that need you here with them. There are parts of you that you had to abandon to take care of the other, to do the work for the other, to understand the other when you weren't getting the information you needed, right? So you're let go at work. You lose your job. A client fires you, but no explanation is given, right? Are you making that about you? Just notice. That's practice number 3. Stop blaming and beating yourself up for what happened. Practice number 4. Start practicing compassion for yourself and making the relationship you have with you top priority. This goes, these all work together. It's just coming back to yourself. What do you need right now? What's the most loving thing you can do for yourself right here? When you're truly in this experience, when you're truly allowing all the feelings, when you're truly letting yourself feel it all and be here with yourself, how are you here with yourself? Are you treating yourself like you would a small child? Are you treating yourself like you would your best friend if they're in the same situation? If not, why? Again, this is a powerful, powerful space to notice the parts of you that you've separated from. This is where reconciliation comes in. This is where being 100% invested in ourselves at some point in our lives wasn't safe. We had to put somebody else's needs ahead of our own in order to feel safe, right? And so these experiences, when things fall apart or when things aren't aligned to how our lives want to be and how we know on a deep soul level that we want to live, this is the opportunity right here, is to come back and to reconcile with parts of ourselves that we've abandoned, that we've neglected, that we've said, hey, no, you take a back seat because my survival depends on me putting these other people first. And that might have been true then, but it's not true anymore. So practice number 4, practice compassion for you and make your relationship with yourself top priority. What's the most loving thing I can do for myself right now? What do I need? What can I give to myself that I've been resourcing to someone else who just keeps not getting it right? Can I figure out what I need and give it to myself and get it right? What is that? Practice number 5. Start feeling on purpose. You may be really good at pretending that you don't feel the way you feel. You might be really good at numbing out. You might be really good at being like, yeah, I don't want to feel that way. So I'm just going to pretend that I feel happy and positive, that I'm content. Like, oh, well, I guess that's what's happening. It fucking sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it. Yes, there is. You can actually feel it. Feel it. Feel it on purpose. What does that look like? That means that you give yourself permission to actually ask and answer the question of like, how do I really feel about this? How does it really feel that day in and day out, my husband would rather crack a beer and sit in front of the TV than look me in the eyes and ask me how I'm doing? How does it feel that my children don't talk to me, would much rather be on the screen than to sit down and talk about something that needs to be done, like contributing, doing the dishes, helping clean up around here? How does it feel that I'm constantly overlooked at work, that my ideas are never considered? How does it feel when I go out with my friends that no one really seems to care about what's going on with me? That everyone's distracted and would much rather have another round of drinks or gossip, right? So just notice the places where you have numbed out and decided that it's no big deal when it actually is a big deal. And ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And move into that feeling. Feel on purpose. So if you're sad, get into a ball and rock on the floor. And even if the tears aren't coming, give your body permission to move sadness. If you're angry, lay on your bed and with your arms and your legs, kick and scream into a pillow. Even if rage isn't coming up in your body, but you know you're angry. If you're hysterical, laugh with your face up towards the sky and make noise. Make some noise. Emotion is energy. It wants to move. But if you're used to dumbing it down, pushing it away, resisting it, avoiding it, talking yourself out of it, it's not going to move. It's listening to you. It's like, okay, well, you need us to, we'll just hold back here. But guess what happens? That's where it manifests as other diseases, other symptoms. So feel on purpose what this is really like for you. And you only you don't have to do it for long. It might open something up where you actually feel, and that's a good thing because then you move through it. Things have already fallen apart. Things are already not how you want them. So to get to where you want to go, you have to move through this. Feeling on purpose, practice number 5. Practice number 6. This is the final one. Think about what you actually want. What does the relationship look like that you actually want? What is happening? What does the friendship look like? What is the career, the job, the impact that you want to have? What does the house look like? What do the vacations look like? What do you look like? What does optimal health look like for you? Spiritual connection, fun, adventure, all of the places in your life, think about what you actually want and what you want to create next. If things have fallen apart, guess what? It means that you're primed to building something new, something entirely different. In fact, the more they've fallen apart, the more you get to create anew. And here's the thing. What you want, what you desire is within you. You just may have shut it down, numbed it out, along with the emotions, along with everything that was going on that you were afraid to face or are afraid to face, right? You've tucked it away because either you felt like it wasn't possible or you don't feel worthy of it, or that you have the ability to make it happen. But all of those are bullshit lies. What you want, the desire within you is within you because you're here to bring it to life. You're here to live it, right? This is why things are falling apart. This is why we can't pretend anymore. This is why more and more people are like in this turmoil, is so that they can get to a place where they are desperate enough to be like, okay, I'm ready to fucking listen. What do you want from me? And I'm just telling you, I mean, you can get to that place, but you don't have to. Maybe you have. And I want to help you. This is how you take your power back. And listen, if you can't access what you want next, just because it's quiet, just because maybe you've put some protective layers around it because it didn't feel safe, you didn't feel like it was possible, you didn't feel like you deserved it, you didn't feel like you're capable of it, it doesn't mean it's not there. And you can start opening up to it by journaling, asking yourself, what is it that I truly want? What would I want this to look like? Even if I don't think it's possible right now, even in this lifetime, if I was to be reborn into a completely new life, what would that look like? What would I want? You start there and you keep giving yourself permission to cultivate this until the energy activates in your body. But let me tell you that energy won't activate if you're used to not feeling. That's why practice number 5, feeling on purpose, is so important, right? These are all connected. These are all part of this beautiful toolbox of actions that are solely focused on you, because that is where we're at. These are the things that matter most right now. Next month in September 8th, 9th, and 10th is my signature masterclass, Energetics of Manifestation, Spiritual Initiation. This is a powerful 3-day workshop experience. It's $22, where I will help you move through this. We're in a spiritual awakening. Things are falling apart. It's spiritual. It's not personal. It's an activation. And I am here to help you with that. So we'll put the link in here for you to register for that masterclass workshop experience. It's 3 days. It's a couple hours every day. There's a workbook. It's amazing. People always have the most amazing results just in this workshop. We'll put the link here. I would love it if you joined me. If you have any questions or comments about this video, please put them below here as well. I love you so much. You are on the right path. You just get to keep going. And these practices are the through way. I promise. I'm sending all my love.